This is FantasyCenter. Nobody's going to take Johnny Manziel in the first round. With the second pick in the second round of the NFC Rookie Draft, El Palco Loco selects quarterback Johnny Manziel. Nobody's going to pick Johnny Manziel in the first round. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to take quarterback Johnny Manziel in the first round. With the fifth pick in the first round of the AFC Rookie Draft, the Skinbots select quarterback Johnny Manziel. Charles Barkley, what'd you think of that pick? Oh, that's a terrible pick right there. Just terrible. That guy picking Johnny Manziel, he's a knucklehead. Back and better than ever, I'm Bryan Van Pelt. I'm here with David Rome. Say hi.
What's going on?
TFL, TCAA members, welcome and thank you for joining us for our third podcast and our first episode of what we are calling TSPN Fantasy Center. We are hoping to bring one of these to you about every Tuesday or Wednesday to kind of get a recap of the previous week and kind of give our thoughts on the week ahead. This episode we are going to concentrate on reviewing the draft and also going over some of the rules that were changed and also announcing the committees, which I know some of you are wondering about that. And then next week we're going to try to give our picks for the playoffs and the Super Bowl. But just want to kind of address some of the feedback that you guys have given us. I know a lot of you listened to the podcast a lot more than I thought was going to with the first episode, to be honest with you. And I know some of you just in the last couple of days have and kind of enjoyed what we've done, what we're throwing together here. We've had some, I wouldn't call it criticism, but, just some suggestions that we've tried to address. And also just want to remind you guys, some of you were talking about the podcast being so long. Be sure to check the description and look for the timestamps to where you can get to what you would like to listen to in the particular episodes. But we're just going to start off with the draft, which was held not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And I thought we had a pretty good turnout. How about yourself, David?
I thought it was pretty good. I heard the food was excellent, of course. And we seem to have had majority of all the teams there, except for, people who are out of state and all. But other than that, they all showed up, one way or another.
I do believe this was the first year that I've ran any of my leagues where everybody that said they were going to show up did show up, and I even had one that said he wasn't that showed up, and I thank you for that, Matt Hensley of Loose Ends. He didn't think he was going to get back in town, but he did, and he hauled his butt and got in and was able to sit down with us for a little bit. But I'm going to kind of go team by team and just kind of go over the players that were picked and just kind of give a grade. We may not give a grade to everybody, but just kind of chit-chat a little bit about each team. And we will start with the AFC. Start with the Big Orange Army, which is, of course, my team. I came out of there with 5 draft picks. Ended up taking Sammy Watkins #1 overall. David, you hit that right on the head.
Well, it was hard not to.
Yeah. One thing that made me nervous, I was just telling David off air a few minutes ago, him and Will did an excellent job, in my opinion, with the mock draft, although they were shot all to pieces pretty quick. But I felt like position-wise, you guys really hit it on the head, especially with my team. You made me very nervous just talking about the positions I was looking for because y'all hit it right on the head.
Well, the first time around, I'm not sure how good of a job we had done on our mock drafts, but, after a lot of moves happened in the free agency and stuff, the second time around, made it somewhat easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was kind of surprised too in the AFC with the way some of the players fell, and I have given myself, not to be conceited, but I've given myself an A+ on my draft, and a lot of it was just luck. I pulled off the trade with Jeff, who wanted some draft picks, and we actually talked about he got a pretty good pick, in my opinion, for the pick I traded. We'll talk about that later, but Carlos Hyde slid down all the way to number 9, and kind of jumped in front of Jordan, wanted a quarterback also, like you said, and I was able to grab him in Bortles late in the first round.
I mean, when you look at your first 3 picks here, I mean, that's pretty crazy offensive-wise of what that could be for the future of your team.
Yeah, and then my other big surprise, which was a player that I've already traded, was Brandon Cooks sliding out of the first round. I had, when I worked on my mock draft, I had him going no later than 6th, and he slid all the way to the second round, number 3, and I traded him for a first round to Ben.
Yeah, I had him going originally first pick in the second round, so I still have him sliding into the second round. He went a couple picks later, but he's definitely a first round talent.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I gave myself an A+ was I was going to just give myself an A because when I came down to the end of my draft, I picked up my tight end Richard Rodgers from Green Bay, who Colt Lyerla was supposedly outplaying him in the preseason. I hadn't done a lot of studying on that. I just knew I wanted to pick a tight end up, and Colt Lyerla was actually dropped by Green Bay or waived by Green Bay the other day due to injury. So I gave myself an A+ for that. But okay, now let's go to Skinbox. Skinbox picked up 4 draft picks, and then of course he traded again and got Brandon Cooks. So not factoring in the fact that he got Brandon Cooks, I personally gave him a D for this. Yeah, I know he's going to hate me for that, but I understand the allure of Johnny Manziel, and I know that he loved Manziel. I know he really, thinks that he's going to do well and everything. But when you look at his roster, he had glaring needs at running back, and I know for a fact he's scrambling right now, trying to get either money for a running back or just to find one on the waiver wire.
He wants a running back.
He does want a running back. And now don't be looking at trade offers while we're doing this, but I mean when you look at the fact that Carlos Hyde was still on the board and Trey Mason was on the board and Bishop Sankey, Lord I forgot about Sankey, and Andre Williams, you look at just those 4 players alone, and Jeremy Hill. Then you forgot about Jeremy Hill. Those 4 guys being on the board, to me, with him having Stafford and RG3, I personally would have went with one of the running backs instead. And he got a couple running backs, but they're backups that aren't expected to play much, and he needs help now.
Yeah, I mean he's got Shady. I mean, but who knows what's going to happen? He may be sharing he might be sharing a lot now. So
exactly. Yeah, and see, my concern with McCoy is also just injury. I mean, just for me, a quality running back was a must-have for him. But he did pick up Jarvis Landry, which he slid to the 3rd round, and I'd seen a couple games with him playing. I thought he looked well. And another thing I was surprised about is John Brown was not drafted in the AFC. Arizona Cardinals wide receiver. I did not notice that until this morning.
I'm still not even noticing that. So
yeah, he was drafted in the NFC, but not in the AFC. Okay, let's go to the Butt Monkeys. Let's see, they had, I think it was 5 picks. Yeah, they had 5 picks. And I gave the Butt Monkeys an A because I feel like he picked up Eric Ebron in the 1st round, which, he had no problems at wide receiver. He's loaded at wide receiver. He's loaded at running back. He's loaded at quarterback. He could really drop some of his running backs. He's got 3. Lamar Miller is in the running for the starting job in Miami, and he's got 3 studs at running back.
Not only does he have a stud, but he also has a weed smoker. But what are you gonna do about that?
And he actually had 5 picks. I overlooked Kyle Fuller. But, he got Eric Ebron at tight end, which, he already had Charles Clay, but I think Ebron's going to be a beast, just from what I've seen, what I've read.
Wow.
And then
Detroit.
I think one of the most underrated picks that came out of this draft class is Zach Meckenberger. Have you seen him play?
I haven't seen any of it yet.
Yeah, he's looking good. He's looking good. And I think Jeremy Hill, they've already announced they're going to split carries with Giovanni Bernard, so he's got a chance to shine and do what he did, so that's why I gave him an A. Let's see. Dispensing the Pain is our next team, and he only got 3 draft picks. He apparently made some trades some point in time, but here's another guy that I'm not. How do you feel about Matt Ryan? Are you pretty sold on Ryan?
Matt Ryan, he had the off year last year. I think the whole team had an off year last year. So it's one of those things with Atlanta. You'd like to think that they're going to bounce right back. I mean, Matt Ryan's always been pretty solid. So, but he's got Jake Locker as well on the team.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can see why he went Bridgewater first pick.
Yeah. I know. Like I said, Ryan was he was really inconsistent. He had 240 some points, but he was just, I don't know, he's too inconsistent for me. But now, something I didn't think about is Julio Jones is coming back off of the foot injury, but and Bridgewater, he's, Kent Davis and the Maynardville Mudfish, we went round and round about this in the parking lot, funny enough, last week, and he just thinks Bridgewater is going to be a beast, and I just, from what I've seen, I don't see it. I watched him run for his life against Jadeveon Clowney against South Carolina for 2 years, and in all the preseason games I've seen him, he's been running for his life. So I'm not sure how he's going to make it in the NFL.
Well, they I heard that Minnesota has already said that it's going to be Matt Castle as their QB. So
right.
Who knows when Bridgewater will actually get a chance to start.
Yeah.
So he's got to hope that Matt Ryan handles it.
Yeah, he'll probably end up on the taxi squad and hoping Mettenberger doesn't take over in Tennessee. Which I think Locker's going to be on a bit of a short leash, which is kind of a bad deal for him because I think Locker's an excellent quarterback, but with all the injuries he's had, he hasn't had a chance to really show what he can do. But I think Cody Latimer at the end of the third round, I'm surprised he fell that far too. I thought that was a good pick for Daniel. So I give him a C just because I don't care for Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
Not even going to touch that, are you?
Not doing it.
Let's go on to the Interceptors, who had 3 draft picks. And when you look at his roster, it is an absolute mess, just being honest. Check out his roster. Other than his rookies, for next season, he's only got 4 players under contract.
I mean, if you listen to the mock draft podcast that me and Will did, I mean, we probably tore up their whole lineup. Just thinking, where do they go? And they didn't even have a first-round pick, so were they going to get a first-round talent? Who knows? I mean, they did go and get a wide receiver, which, I mean, he needs a wide receiver, but he needs everything. So
yeah, and Kelvin Benjamin, in some ways, I don't think he's a first-round talent, but he's going to play like one because he's all Carolina has. I mean, I really he's a big body, and I think he's going to do well at Carolina. And Gaffney, I mean, I don't understand that pick, to be honest with you. He's already on the injured reserve. I was scratching my head when he drafted him. But I mean, when I was looking at this roster, I could not believe. He's at $130 in cap room, and he's losing all but 5 players. I missed one on his taxi squad. He's losing all but 5 players plus his rookies. I mean, the free agent market next year, I don't know if that's his plan, is just completely rebuilding, but the free agent market next year is going to be dominated by him.
I mean, all he needs is the money. I mean, does he still have 2 tight ends that are free agents as I'm looking at it right now?
Yeah, he's got Joel Dreesen, he's got Dallas Clark. So and then he drafted a rookie tight end that's probably not going to start. So like I said, I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to have to pick up some stuff. Blind bidding opens probably tomorrow.
Let's think about this for a second. Is he playing for the Oregon quarterback? I mean, or is he? I mean, what's he playing for here?
T.J. Yeldon. I don't know. I think Yeldon's a junior this year, isn't he?
I mean, maybe he's going after Jameson. So.
It's true. I don't know. I don't know what his plan is, or if he has a plan. I don't know. But I don't know if I said it, but I gave him a D. I may have changed my mind there, but I just really soured on him, on his team there. But next is the Sriracha Angry Chickens.
Sriracha.
Yeah, it's my boy Jared, and he took over this team, which he's $72 to Adrian Peterson for the next year, and then he'll be out from under that. So he may be dangerous when it comes to salary cap come next year too. But he got 4 draft picks, and I thought he did fairly well personally.
I agree. I mean, right away, went wide receiver. He's got, probably one of the biggest targets that they're going to have down in Tampa Bay, getting Mike Evans. We saw what we did in, in Texas A&M with Manziel. So
Mhm. And I really like the running back Trey Mason.
yeah,
Had I not got Hyde, I probably would have taken Bortles, and then with that third pick in the second round instead of taking Cooks, I'd have probably got Trey Mason because he's just he's a bruising back. He's one of those guys. He's a truck, and look where he's playing. He's in St. Louis with Jeff Fisher. Anybody ever heard of Eddie George? I mean, Lindell White, I mean, I know he didn't play well, but when he was with George, I mean, when he was with Fisher, yeah, I mean, till he got hurt and got injury problems, he was almost legit. So, I mean, I really like what he did here. I'm going to go with an A- for him because the reason I go A- there, he's got Luke Kuechly, he's got D'Amico Ryans, and he drafted C.J. Mosley. That kind of confused me a little bit why he went there. But I understand Justin Gilbert at cornerback. I thought that was a good pickup for him.
I mean, I can agree with you right there. I mean, I don't want to pat myself on the back or anything, but in the mock draft, I had him taking Evans and taking Mason.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, out of the ones that I did get correct, that's a pat on the back right here. So
all right, now we go to Rampant Lions, who, in the interview with Jeff, which Jeff, by the way, you said you did horrible in the interview. I have had nothing but rave reviews about how you sounded like an actual NFL coach. I mean, everybody I've talked to that has mentioned you said you did an excellent job, and it was crazy. And that's one of the reasons people are excited about this and about getting on the show. I've had a bunch that said they weren't doing it, and I've talked to a couple and said they are, JP being one of them. JP's going to join us probably on our next show. But anyway, Jeff, excellent job.
I agree. I mean, going into this, we didn't know what we were going to get, not at all. And he came right in, took control of it, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. But he only had 2 draft picks, and I honestly think he did fairly well. I'm going to give him a B+ because I think Austin Seferian-Jenkins falling to him at the last pick of the second round, I thought was it's pick 12 actually. I think there was 13 picks that round from a previous trade from the NFC.
No,
but,
it had 12
oh,
picks.
It was a 12 pick. Okay, thank you. But Austin Seferian-Jenkins, I think is going to be a beast too. Outside of Ebron and the other one whose name escapes me, I think he's the best tight end in this draft. And I remember sitting in the draft room, and when I saw it was his pick, and I saw Paul Richardson was still on the board, I leaned over. I believe it was Matt Hensley that sat beside me, and I said he's going to pick up Richardson. And sure enough, that's who he did because he's a homeboy. He's got to pick up his homeboy, but still, Richardson is I think a good talent. And what's his name is not going to stay healthy. Percy Harvin. He's not going to stay healthy. So,
well, poor Harvin.
Now, Bromy, I want to hear you. What do you grade yourself?
Myself, I don't know. Let's go with an A++.
A++.
Right away I had to go after a couple of needs right off the bat due to people getting old, and
right.
I'm not gonna. That's really a lie. I can't give myself an A. I don't know what I was doing when I picked 2 running backs right off the bat. I completely forgot I picked up a running back, and I'm sure I let somebody go.
Here's my thing. I've got you at a B, and my main reason I'm gonna start with Aaron Dawn. I mean, I know he's the best defensive tackle in the draft, and I know Suh is kind of a basket case, but it's 4th round pick and all that. No big deal. I don't know. Defensive tackle is one position I wish we could figure out how to get them to score more, but defensive tackles just do not score well.
Exactly.
And then Khalil Mack, I thought was a good pick. Clay Matthews, he's fragile. He gets hurt all the time. Mason Foster, who knows if he can hold that up. I did like that pick. And I actually, you saying that's the reason I dropped you to a B, because when you picked up the 2 running backs, you picked up Sankey. That was a given. I understood why you did that. Sankey and Hyde was a coin flip for me. But then when Andre Williams, when you picked him up, I was kind of sort of beating the desk or beating the table because I was kind of wanting to pick him up because he's probably going to get a lot of goal line carries. So I mean I personally didn't think that was a bad pickup for you.
Yeah, I mean people, I heard people were chitting and chatting about him and everything else, and when it was my
I heard
pick,
Andre
I was like,
Williams' name brought up about as much as Michael Sam. Not being funny, but I heard his name quite a bit.
I agree.
moving on to loose ends, which is Matt. He had, let's see, 5 draft picks. And he started off, which, if I was in his position at pick 2, it'd have been hard for me to pick between Clowney and Evans in his position, because he's got Chad Greenway at linebacker, Lance Briggs at linebacker, and we all know linebackers can bring the points. And I think Clowney was a good pickup for him, considering the depth that he has at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver.
I agree.
So I thought that was a good pickup. And then Ryan Shazier, goes back. It's kind of weird, but round 4, take a flyer in case Clowney's a bust. You never know. Calvin Pryor at safety in the division he's in, the New York Jets. I thought that was a good pick. And Odell Beckham Jr. Again, how did he fall to the 3rd round? I've talked to you guys about that. And then Jason Morrow, man. I mean, he picked, that was the other tight end whose name escaped me earlier. Jason Morrow, he picked him up in the 3rd round, so I gave Matt an A. With Pill Pushers and Josh, he had, I believe, 4 picks. 3 picks. And Darquez Denard, I like that pick fairly well, but he had Tim Jennings, so I'm not sure I would have went there. But again, it was the 4th round. Marquise Lee falling to the 3rd round. I am a fan of Marquise Lee, and I'm a fan of what Jacksonville has going on right now. They have got a very young offense. They got Gerhardt in there at running back. I kind of look for Jacksonville to kind of be on the rise here in a couple of years. So I like the Marquise Lee pick. And Charles Sims, I don't think that Cloyd knew that he had been injured. I don't know if I've heard how long he's going to be out, but I think Charles Sims is going to be fine when he does come back. But he's going to be splitting carries with Doug Martin. So I gave him a C for his draft. And let's see, for Jake, the Havoc Hawks, let's see, he had a bunch of picks. He traded around most of the offseason and a little bit last season. He had 6 draft picks this year. He picked up in the 1st round at pick number 3, he got running back Devontae Freeman. And this is really the only pick that I questioned, because at pick 3, you still had Mike Evans available. You had Bishop Sankey available. You had Eric Ebron. You had Manziel, who I would not have done there. Carlos Hyde, Blake Bortles, all of them. And given his situation at running back, he's losing Rashad Jennings. He's losing Gerhardt. He's got Ellington, who played fairly well, but he's in Arizona, and I'm not a fan of their running game. And he's got DeMarco Murray, who's in and out. Although I'm a Murray fan, he's in and out of the lineup. So I was a little confused with him going with Freeman, but knowing Jake, he's probably read or seen something, watched him play, and I just haven't seen it. But picking up, I like the pick for Jordan Matthews in Philadelphia. I think he's a good fit in Philadelphia at pick number 10. I really like that one. And then he had the 2nd pick in the 2nd round, picked up Devontae Adams with Green Bay. I thought was a pretty good pick at that point. Then he turned around and picked up Martavis Bryant. With Pittsburgh, he's already kind of heavy on the wide receiver because he'd already gotten Matthews, he'd already gotten Adams, and already on his roster was Cecil Shorts, Rod Streeter, Kimbrell Tompkins, and Reggie Wayne, Mike Williams, Kendall Wright. So, he's got a ton of wide receivers. So I don't understand spending 3 draft picks, but he had 3 to spend. So, I guess that's why he went with that. And then the 11th pick, he got quarterback Derek Carr, who I'm a fan of. I just don't know about him being out in Oakland. I'm not sure about that. And then New England, running back James White. You never know what's going to happen with New England's backfield. So I gave him a B- just because of some of the roster spots that he had.
He had too many picks.
Yeah, he did. And I know he is not a fan of he likes hitting the waiver wire for defense, and that may have been what he was after. But if I was him, I would have went with Clowney, because all he has at a linebacker is C.O. Moore and Kiko Alonso, who's hurt and is out for a while. I would have went with Clowney personally.
Well, I don't think Clowney fell down to him, though. I think that was one of the main problems.
Oh, that's right. He did take him to the 2nd pick. That's right. I was thinking he had the 2nd pick. He had the 3rd pick. You're right.
I had him taking Clowney, but Clowney wasn't available, so I think that's why he went.
That's why I'm thinking it. I believe I saw your mock draft. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what I would have done then. Now I'm thinking back, because I mean, like I said, he's got a ton of wide receivers. So I don't know. Jake was an enigma to me a little bit. I probably would have went running back just with a different running back. But Jake's one of those guys. When he first started, I kind of thought, he's, I'm not sure he's going to get this, but he's really. I mean, he works at Lowe's in Jonesboro, and every time I go in there, man, he is talking strategy. I mean, he's always thinking this. I'm telling you, I really think Jake's going to be a power player in a couple years, because he's starting to understand how this works, and it's a scary situation. But let's go to our man Will to finish out the AFC. Everyday I'm Wrestling is Will's team, and he had, I think, 4 draft picks. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that's right.
Let's see. I know he didn't have any first-round picks.
Yeah.
He had the one. Actually, yeah, 3.
Yeah.
He had 1 in the first round, 1 in the second round, 2 in the fourth round.
And what surprised me with Will is that he didn't go wide receiver with his first pick, because Josh Gordon was pretty much going to be inevitably suspended. I mean, and he has Michael Crabtree, who's oft injured. He had Percy Harvin, oft injured. Robert Woods is, he kind of picked it up, but he hadn't shown much. And then he had Antonio Brown, who's a beast. Keenan Allen, who's a beast. But if I was him, I would have tried to go wide receiver a little bit earlier. I do like Dante Moncrief. I think I was surprised he fell all the way to the 4th round with Andrew Luck. And I like Allen Robinson in Jacksonville. Again, I don't know if you heard me or if you were back yet, but I think Jacksonville's offense is going to be flashy here in a couple years. I don't know.
When you think about Jacksonville, I mean, if Blackman would have not gotten to keep getting himself in trouble, the wide receiver core they have would be
amazing.
Ridiculous.
Yes, they would. I agree. But I mean, I thought he recovered well. It's just, he didn't draft the positions in the order that I would. I know he picked up running backs, or he picked up a running back early. He has Charles. He has Spiller. He has Vereen, and if Vereen and Spiller can stay healthy, my gosh, look out. But he did get Terrence West, was a second round pick, and I'm a fan of Terrence West. It's just the fact he's in Cleveland makes me nervous. And then also DeAnthony Thomas, who I think is going to be a kick returner. It's going to be hard to bench him if he does what he did in Oregon.
Agreed.
So, all right, well, that does it for the AFC. I don't know if I graded Will. I'm going to say.
Let's give him a C.
Yeah, I was gonna say a B, just because I thought with the players that dropped to him, kind of wasn't part of his skill, but that was a knock on you, brother. But I think he did all right. I really do. Okay, so moving on to the NFC, and Jamie finally named his team Central Wildcats.
Agreed. That was
which I like it.
Good to finally see how that happened.
Yeah, we kept calling him just Potter, Jamie Potter. But excuse me. I believe Jamie was one that made some trades before the draft, wasn't he? I think he did.
I'm looking up. I think a lot of his trades actually did not involve draft picks, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
It was players that occurred. I remember getting ready and getting set up for the NFC draft. I was hearing rumors of drafts going on. I was like, oh, come on. Let's not blow up the NFC blew up my mock draft regardless.
Yeah, I remember that. It was shot early.
I got pick 1 right, and that was it.
Yeah. Well,
it went crazy. They knew what they were doing, though. They were talking. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, they were, and it was quite hilarious at times too. But I remember Central Wildcats when I looked at his. I gave him an A+. I give it an A++ if I could, because in the first round, he got Kelvin Benjamin, so I've already told you I'm a big fan of, and then he picked up with the next pick Andre Williams, who I'm also a fan of, big goal line carry. And that, with the running backs he has there, he's got Bernard, who's going to split carries. He's got Donald Brown, who knows what he's going to do in San Diego. He's got LaMichael James, is the crowded backfield. Probably from the way they're talking now is going to be just Gore and Hyde. And then he's got Darren Sproles in Philadelphia, which I think is going to be good. So I mean, he could put Williams on his taxi squad, and then start him later if he does if he gets the goal line carries. But I think Benjamin and Williams, you get them back-to-back picks. I thought that was great.
Yep.
And then
Those are definitely nice picks. I mean, when I was doing the mock, I had him going a quarterback and a wide receiver. But once Bortles was gone, I mean, obviously the next choice is to do what he did.
Yeah, and he was one of the guys that asked me. He's asked me once or twice when we're doing blind bids, and I see why, because at the quarterback position, he's hurting. Mettenberger again, I think is going to be a good quarterback. He's kind of surprised me in the preseason, but with Cam Newton and his rib situation, he's definitely got to get a quarterback in the blind bidding. But look at who fell to him. He got Austin Seferian-Jenkins in the 3rd round late. He got Zach Mettenberg in the 4th round late, and then he got Paul Richardson in the 4th round late. So I gave him an A+. I like his picks. I like what he's done with his roster.
I mean, it definitely looks nice. I mean, you can see why I was saying for him to go quarterback first pick, with Cam Newton being his only quarterback on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And with him, he had 1 year left, injury prone. Superman can't live forever.
Yeah. Okay, on the Big South Bandits, they had 5 draft picks, and I thought Chuck did pretty well as well. I've given him an A. Linebacker, I was a little surprised, not real surprised, but a little surprised he went with Khalil Mack. When I first looked at it, but then I realized that he fell to the 4th round, so I can understand that, and he's already got him on the taxi squad, so I thought that was a good move. The 1st round, he picked up Brandon Cooks at the number 3 pick. He fell all the way to number 3 in the 2nd round in the AFC.
Exactly.
3 with Cooks in the NFC. So I thought that was a good pick, and I liked the Justin Gilbert pick early in the 3rd round. And, of course, Terrence West, Odell Beckham Jr. went in the 1st round also. So I give Chuck an A. Just a lot of that is just personal preference to the players that I like and what he's done with his roster there.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree right there. I mean, he could have gone maybe running back to help him out a little there from what it looks of it. But, I mean, he did get West. Who knows how the situation in Cleveland, but I mean, just looking at his roster currently, the running back position is still a toss-up. I mean, he's got Noshawn Moreno, but he's going to be in Miami. But we've already talked about
right, he's going to be splitting carries. Well, yeah, they were saying splitting carries, and then I read yesterday that Lamar Miller is on top of the depth chart right now.
So
Williams is going to go down, and you don't know what Chris Johnson's going to do in the new offense.
So that could just be his only area he may have to focus on. Other than that, Ross is pretty solid.
Yeah, a lot of I think you guys addressed this. A lot of the NFC, their rosters are already in pretty good shape.
I mean, the NFC was ridiculous to mock draft. I mean, and that's why I think it blew up after first pick being Watkins.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, I mean, like you look at as you were saying, his linebacker situation. I mean, I had him taking Clowney. I mean, he's now considered a linebacker. There was a lot of confusion before the draft.
Well, I pulled off that trade from Micah Hyde. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, first he was doing that with the whole thing he was a defensive end, so I think that's why a lot of people weren't taking Clowney. But then linebacker, it's a whole different situation.
Exactly. I don't think I'd have taken him at defensive end. I don't know, though. Line up on the other side of Watt. You look at it that way, that'd be hard. I don't know. But moving on to the Kings, they had 4 picks also. I gave Matt a C. I think. Let me look. Yeah, I gave him a C. I like the pick for Hyde, obviously, and he needed help in the running back. But I don't understand personally. Calvin Pryor, I kind of like that pick, but linebacker, he has Chad Greenway. He has Gerard Mayo, who was hurt, but ought to do well. And he took Kirksey, one of the last picks. So taking Aaron Donald again. That's why I dropped your grade. It's just defensive tackle. In the draft, I would just stay away from him. I'd pick up one for a quarter somewhere.
Yeah, well, you never know.
I know. You don't like me busting on you, do you?
No, I don't really like that at all.
Shiva Blasters. I'm not really sure how to grade him. I guess incomplete because he traded out completely. He had no draft picks, but now having said that, his roster's in really good shape. I don't feel like he needed much. He's got a good balance of players. He's got a good balance of their contracts of who's running out when. He's got $90 in cap space. I didn't see him really needing a player.
I mean, the only thing you look at is just thinking about drafting away that first round pick and giving up Watkins.
Yeah, he may regret that. You never know. He's got Kendall Wright, who came on with Locker and played well when he was there. Roddy White's again, the whole Atlanta offense. Roddy White was double teamed a lot with Julio Jones out last year.
Exactly.
And
you look at
Ruben
77 points,
right?
And you're like,
yeah,
wow.
that looks like he had a down year, but man, he was hounded because they didn't have anybody else to throw to. And then Doug Baldwin up in Seattle, going to get some more attention, more than likely if he can catch the ball. With the guy that went to Detroit, Golden Tate gone.
Yeah.
So, and then Ruben Randall, man, New York's a mess. The Giants are just a mess right now.
I think Eli's going to pull it around, though. I think Eli's going to have a career year.
Well, and I want to say I hope he does because he's a Manning, but I don't like New York, and I'm sorry, Daniel, but I don't really care what happens there. So.
I didn't say it'd be a career year in the positive.
There you go. Oh, that's true. You didn't. Okay, Northeast Flying Bombers, our 2013 Super Bowl champs. 5 draft picks, and I unfortunately gave him a C-. I know he's probably going to hate me for that, but the first pick in the 13th pick in the first round, he went with Kadeem Carey. And I feel like, I gave him that grade, but I kind of feel like I'm missing something here because I've heard a lot about Kadeem Carey the last couple of days. So I may be a little too hard on JP, really. Second round, he took Martavis Bryant, wide receiver. He already had 5 wide receivers on the roster and some pretty decent ones, but, Crabtree's up and down. Floyd's a young up-and-coming receiver, and he's got John Brown on the other side of him now. Vincent Jackson, I've had him in a couple fantasy leagues. I just don't trust him.
Exactly.
And Denarius Moore, he was on the roster bubble a couple weeks ago, but then he's got Cordero Patterson, who, as we'll discuss later, with the kick return yardage still being employed, much to Kent Davis' chagrin. He absolutely hated that, just so you guys know. Patterson's a beast, so I understand him just getting that one receiver. And Isaiah Crowell is about to be dropped, I believe. I'm pretty sure I heard that, but that was Mr. Irrelevant. So
yeah, that was the last pick.
Sounds about right.
I mean, again, when I wrote down who he picked, I just put Isaiah something.
Yeah, Isaiah something.
And I searched for it later.
So, but having said that, he's in pretty good shape. I mean, his roster looks good. So he didn't really need this draft. And with Sam Bradford getting hurt, I think Zach Stacy's going to become even more of a focal point of St. Louis's offense. And I look for Antonio Brown. Look at what Antonio Brown did, not having much help on the outside with Roethlisberger throwing him the ball. So I think Roethlisberger could have a good year. And I still maintain Jared Cook is going to come out of this one of these days, and he's going to be a beast of a tight end. And Delaney Walker, too, I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you look at his roster, you're like, well, repeat. We've only had 3 seasons, and we've had just 1 repeat. I mean, could he repeat? Who knows? But, I mean, we're going to have an interview with him, hopefully, for the next episode. So we'll be able to pick his brain and really see what he was thinking about when he was making his draft picks and see what he thinks how his team's going to go.
And hopefully he doesn't listen to this podcast and hear me just trash his draft. So hopefully he's one that skips. But anyway, moving on to the Maynardville Mudfish with 4 draft picks. Now, having bashed Bridgewater earlier, I give him an A, and I'm gonna call it. No, I'm not gonna call it an A-. I'm gonna call it an A. I'm gonna give him benefit of the doubt because I think Sankey. I know it's kind of early, number 2, but he's got Martin. He's got Spillers down. Woodhead, who knows? He's got Lamar Miller, who at the time was going to split carries, but now he's been announced top of the depth chart again.
Exactly.
And then Doug Martin, man, I've got Doug Martin, and I hope he pulls through. But they say he's going to be the bell cow, so let's hope so. But still, I think Sankey's running back of the future in Tennessee. And I already mentioned earlier, I like Jarvis Landry a lot down in Miami. And he fell to the 4th round to him, and I thought that was a good pick. And Eric Ebron, he also got him with the 5th pick, and I like Ebron a lot. Bridgewater's my only question mark on his roster, and he will fight me to the death on that. But like I said, I watched Carolina Clemson because it's one of my favorite games to watch. It's like watching Duke North Carolina in basketball because those two teams hate each other, and I don't like the pick, but
Well, you know what they say sometimes when you don't like picks.
I'm not gonna go over there. So let's see, Terrible Towels. He had 3 picks. Is that right?
Let's see. Terrible towels. We have 1. Yeah, looks like I got 3 here on my board.
Yeah, and see, he was the one that took John Brown. I was talking earlier about how he didn't even get drafted in the AFC somehow, and somebody's going to have to outbid me for him, just so you know.
50 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I know I got a lot of receivers, but I thought Browns looked good. I think a lot of even the ones that he's missed, a lot of it was quarterback issues. But he picked up Jordan Matthews, who I'm a fan of at Philadelphia. I thought that was a good pick. DeAnthony Thomas, I've already told you earlier how
Return yards and stuff.
he's going to be doing return yards and all that. So just for what he had to work with 3 picks, I'm giving him an A also because I'm a big John Brown fan, big Jordan Matthews fan.
So the question is, what he's going to do about Josh Gordon?
Yeah, yeah, he's got Alshon Jeffrey and he's got Dez Bryant. So I think this is his last year on the contract. The question he's going to run into is does he want to let him go or does he want to slap a transition tag on him? I would not franchise tag that kid, but he may want to try to hold on to him next year. I don't know who would put any money on him next year because he looked like crap in the preseason.
I mean, if anything, I could put a dime bag on for him. Just saying.
Well, you hit a blunt, you get suspended for a year. You knock your wife out and drag her out of an elevator. Just 2 games. So
I got a 5 on it. I can give him,
Going to Murphy's Law, Brandon Murphy. He had 5 draft picks, and I've given him an A also. He picked up in the first round. He got Mike Evans with the 4th pick, who you and I are both a fan of.
Oh, yeah.
He picked up Jason Morrow in the 3rd round, who I'm not sure this year, but I think if Geno gets his act together, is going to do well. Derek Carr, I like the pick. I don't like his he's in Oakland, but the fact he fell to the 4th round at pick 4, I agreed with that. Still a little surprised at how high Devontae Freeman went here. 2nd round, pick 4. I just, I'm missing something somewhere with Freeman.
I've got nothing. I couldn't tell you.
I don't know. I feel like I'm completely on another planet with this kid. He's one I've overlooked and not read and missed. I don't know.
There's something going on in Atlanta, I guess. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, I'm missing it. But he also picked up Cody Latimer. Excuse me, Cody Latimer with the 3rd pick, who I'm a fan of. But now Murph's one, he's also going to have to go out in free agency and blind bidding and get a quarterback because all he has is Drew Brees. Running back, I feel like he's in good shape. He's got a lot to pick from. Stephen Ridley's probably going to get dropped. Did you read that the other day?
No, I didn't hear anything about that.
Yeah, they said he's in danger of making the roster. So after I think he was like $33 in the AFC last year, and he's not even going to make the team this year.
Bummer.
But let's see. Let's go to the JC Beach Bums. Let's give you guys an update on Sean. I believe he was out of surgery. I'm pretty sure he had the surgery on the Friday. I think y'all know he got out and did well. He is now home. He's recovering. I believe his words were, "I'm sore, but it's a different kind of sore, and all the problems that he had before have been worked out." So he's doing well. But he had 4 picks. And again, you look there, the defensive tackle, I wouldn't have went there. I think Heasley's going to be a good one, but just with the points, I would not have went there. I think Clowney at the 6th pick as a linebacker was a steal.
Yes.
Personally. And you look at his linebackers, he's got Lance Briggs, who's hurt all the time, KJ Wright. I love the pick for Clowney, so that goes up a little bit in my book. LaMarcus Joyner at safety, that's another one I don't know anything about. He got him in the 3rd round. And I didn't understand that. And James White, at the time I was confused, but after hearing that about Ridley, I like the White pick a little better. So I'm going to go B- with Sean. but we'll bump him up to a B given his situation. He was high on drugs when he was drafting.
Well, so was probably some of the players. Let's see, you got Ray Rice on his team. Oh no, he beats someone. Then never mind. That's different.
Yeah, that's domestic violence, man. That's not nearly as long of a ban.
No, I mean, weird.
All right, red zone. Mark. He had 4 players. I liked the pick, second round from Mosley. When he first made the pick, I shook my head and thought too early. And then I saw he has no linebackers because Washington and Bowman and Alonzo, he has some studs at linebacker, but they're all out. Bowman's probably going to be back fairly soon. But Washington's suspended. Alonzo, I'm pretty sure, is out for the year. He's not on IR, but I'm pretty sure he's out for the year. So, that pick, it would justify itself after I looked at the roster, but I really shook my head there at first. And then he got Richard Rodgers late like I did, which, I like that pick better now that Lyle is gone.
Yeah.
Dante Moncrief, another, again, big fan of him. I think he's going to do well in the Indianapolis is going to be another fun offense to watch, too, especially if Richardson can get it going. But I think Richardson's a bust.
Yeah.
And I'm every time I think about Trent Richardson, all I can think about is Chuck Vest of the Big South Bandits and all the trade offers he got for the number 2 pick a couple years ago and turned them all down. And then Blake Bortles, you guys know I'm a fan of them. Fan of Jacksonville's upcoming offense, which is liable to blow up in my face. But he got Bortles in 8th pick in the first round, a little early, but he's got Cutler leaving after this year, and he's got Matt Ryan, who documented I'm not a fan of. So I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say an A with him, just given his situation. And I believe I remember you guys mentioning during the mock draft about him just having Dennis Pitta at tight end.
Yeah.
So I thought he did fairly well. Let's see, last 2 teams here. We have El Palco Loco. He had, 3 draft picks. He picked up Manziel in the 2nd pick of the 2nd round, which, player like Manziel, I don't like him. He's in Cleveland. But if he falls to the 2nd pick, 2nd round, it's like Brandon Cooks. I don't care if I need him, I'm getting him.
Yeah, exactly. I
mean, you can't let him fall much farther.
No, not at all. I mean, right behind him then went Bridgewater. So, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder if he would have picked Bridgewater instead, would the Mudfish taken Manziel, or how much farther could he have fallen?
Oh, I'm sure that Kent would have, said the heck with Bridgewater and picked up Manziel, knowing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just knowing Kent, I'm sure he would. And then, kind of a surprise to me in the NFC, Trey Mason fell to the 1st pick in the 3rd round, and Luke picked him up. And then Clinton Ha Dix, he has Major Wright at safety. He's got him for 2 more years, but it was the 4th round, and I can kind of understand him picking up Clinton Dix there. I'm not really sure who was available at that time, but I'm not sure that I would not have went for a little more depth at running back at that point. But again, I don't remember who was available then.
Let's see, if I'm looking at my board right, I mean, James White was still there.
I would have taken James White personally.
And then actually Landry was still there for wide receivers, and so from the looks of it, I mean, there's some stuff there still.
Yeah, probably could have went wide receiver too. He's got Hester, return yards, Nate Washington, but then he's got Santonio Holmes, the new team in Chicago, and Donnie Avery. But on his taxi squad, he's got both the young New England receivers, in Dobson and Tompkins.
Yep.
So I don't know how to score him. I'm gonna say B+. So
he's probably good.
Yeah, and then we go to old school Wes, who had a ton of draft picks, and I believe he got his contract years into me, but he is over the cap and he's over the player, so I'm going to have to be cutting some of his roster sometime tomorrow. And I don't even know where to start. He had I think 5 or 6 draft picks. I believe I'm counting 6.
Let's take a look. He's got warnings all over the place as I look at his roster. Mm-hmm. It is lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. I do like his picks though. I like Jeremy Hill late in the second round. I like Jerick McKinnon. I don't think he went in the AFC either, did he?
McKinnon, no, I don't believe so.
Yeah, he's a handcuff to Adrian Peterson. I like that pick. Devontae Adams going late in the second round. I'm surprised he didn't go a little bit earlier. I like that pick. Marquise Lee, Allen Robinson, and Watkins. My only question about him is he's got a ton of wide receivers, and his, like I said, his problem is he's 3 players over right now.
Yeah, I think what happened was he made that blockbuster
Yeah, he did.
trade before the draft,
Yeah.
where he just soaked in all of the Shiver Blasters picks. He got some talent, but obviously his roster is just a bit too big.
Yeah, and all that keeps echoing in my ear is again Kent. I feel like I've mentioned him 30 times, but Kent just keeps echoing in my ear. Where are you gonna put all those guys? But you got room for all those players? He was just constantly hounding them about it. So he did miss the deadline there, but we'll get him squared away, get him ready.
Yeah, we could probably drop some of these people. Let's see here.
Jamal Charles needs to go.
Yeah, I'm not in the NFC, but Randall Cobb, he doesn't need him.
LaShawn McCoy needs to go. So.
He's pretty,
But yeah,
get Deshaun Jackson out of there. He's on his final year. So.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's see. That brings us to the end of our draft review. And now we're going to go on to the rule changes, which I kind of wish I had gotten some of these posted earlier. But TCAA, I love the idea. I love what we're doing, but starting this league has about killed me. But because I had, most of you know, it started with 18 teams. I had 4 guys that wanted to play, and I decided to start this another conference. I asked a guy that I know, and that gave me 5. I only needed 1 more. Well, then 2 of them decided they didn't want to play. So then I ended up having to get 2 of his friends and 1 more. So that started that conference. Well, then those 2 decided they wanted to play, and 3 others decided they wanted to play that I had asked about earlier. So then I ended up having 5 more and ended up starting another conference. So now we're up to 30 teams in the TCAA. So I know TCAA, TSPN keeps ignoring you somewhat, and the preseason poll that we announced last week is now trash because we got 30 teams instead of 18.
Yeah. I'm keeping my second. I'm not giving that up. That's mine.
Well, that's going to go to the coaches poll, but TSPN will include you guys once we get that league started and get it rolling, get everything straight. Which David, I keep forgetting you're in it. As you know, we are now going to redshirting. The redshirt deadline is Saturday at 10 p.m. So I'm excited to get that done and get that behind me. That way, running that league is not going to be that hard. And I already do this one. I run this one fairly well, but I'm ready to get this over. We've been drafting and working on rosters for the better part of 2 months. I think maybe more.
I'm pretty sure we've been starting since May.
Yeah, God, has it been that long? Wow.
I don't know, but it feels that way.
Well, you faggots should have went with the auction like I told you to, because these guys have drafted their roster in 5 days, and most of them were happy with the way the process went.
As long as you don't have to Google Chrome.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It was a shout out to Ryan there, but Ryan Catterson. But the schedule is the only other thing I got facing me, which I've got all the rivals. I'm looking at putting together. I've already got a good schedule that I'm comfortable with put together for TFL. I just got to put it on weeks and try to keep people from playing back to back. And the college schedule, I'm not going to say intimidated, but when I got to looking at it, I'm not really sure how I'm going to make it because you got 30 teams, but you only got 12 games, so there's going to be a lot of teams that aren't going to play each other, unlike the TFL. But I think it's going to be good. We are sticking with the BCS format just because I like drama, and there's not going to be any computers involved. So I feel like fantasy football drama and arguments and stuff like that are tasteful. That encourages conversation and encourages participation. So that's why we're sticking with the BCS format. We're not doing the playoff, although I'm a fan of the NCAA using the playoffs. But anyway, that's TCAA. We're not forgetting you. We will get to you eventually.
If I recall, I know we were going to try and get one of the presidents on, and had a lot of internet problems that first episode that we were trying to do. But I mean, don't worry, TCAA. Well, you're there. We got you in the plans. Don't worry about yourselves. And if in case you're not happy, let us know, and we'll jump in right now. I mean, phone lines are open.
That's right. Okay, let's go into rule changes now. Most of these votes were really just hammered down out of the park. There was no question. There were a couple votes. I'm not going to say they were close because there were a few people that didn't get a chance to vote. But by the time, even if they had voted and voted against voted for the losing thing, it would not have worked. It would not have done anything. So first of all, kick return yardage. We've kind of already touched on that, and that was shot down big time. Only 2 people voted to get rid of kick return yardage. So that is going to stay. We are getting points for kick return yardage still. Nothing changes there. Another thing that did not change, which this was kind of hotly debated in the war room, but there was only 1 vote for it, and that was changing the Super Bowl to where the conference that gets the most wins in the rivalry week gets 3 points. And a couple people that argued in the favor of changing this rule did not vote in that way. They voted against changing it, so that stays the same. One of the things that is changing, let me stay with what stays the same. The taxi squad, they talked about, somebody suggested unlimited number of players as long as they're on the original rookie contract. That is not happening. That's staying the same. You can only put first and second year players. And then what I call the yearly staple, money league. This is not going to be a money league yet again. But I've got a proposal I'm going to throw at you guys where you guys are paying me $6 just to cover the cost of the league. I'm going to suggest next year that everybody drop in $10 because you figure $4 times 24 teams. I'm kind of tired, but that's roughly around $100. The winner could get it $100, and it would only cost you guys $4 more per year. I don't think that would hurt anybody really. Plus, there's a very cool championship addition, I guess I should call it, to the trophy that a few of you put in money on because you wanted to see it happening, and that is supposed to be delivered tomorrow, which will be Thursday. And I'm going to take pictures of the national championship trophy from TCAA that I picked up the other day, plus the TFL trophy you guys seen, plus this new little trophy that's just kind of fun for bragging rights. And also there's a website that I found that has championship rings for $25 if any of the past champions want to get one. I'm going to tell you right now, if I win, I'm getting one just for the fun of it. But anyway. Okay.
Sounds awesome, actually.
I'm all for it. Max contracts for rookies. It was suggested that all rookie contracts should be 3 years. I voted against this. I'm not afraid to mention it. And that was not changed either because you look at some of the players. I mean, look at Bridgewater, for instance. There's no way I'd draft him that high if I only got him for 3 years because you don't know when he's going to start.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that's all that changed, or that did not change. Okay, now we are now a points per reception league. I've never played in one of these leagues to my knowledge. I'm not sure if Ryan's league is like that, but I know it's a yardage. I know they do points by yardage, but I don't know. Do they do points by reception in that league?
I want to say, I think in every league I've been in, it has some type of points per reception, or I don't know if it's reception. I'd have to do some research real quick, but I want to say we had it before, but I can look that up here real quick.
It may be set that way because I know it's by decimal, but I'm leaning on Kent Davis for this because he pushed for it and he's given me his league scoring to kind of show me how it works. And I've ran some scenarios and I kind of like where it's going. I just can't. You guys need to figure out a way to get the cornerbacks and the defensive tackles more points, and I'll be happy. But I like this. That did pass. We are now a points per reception league, and we are. I don't know what you call it.
In our other league, it is it's a half a point per reception.
Okay. And I believe that's what Kent sent me. But and then we're doing, I don't know what it's called. Somebody called it the decimal system, where you get like 0.1 point for every yard. We are doing that now. So the scoring is going to look quite a bit different from now on. And also, this was something that was brought up that at first I didn't like, but the more I got to thinking about it, I did vote in favor of it, and that was on team captains. Each team should be able to replace a captain if they're out for the season, traded, or dropped. You are going to be able to name a new team captain now if your player is out for the year, traded, or dropped, which means you cannot use them anymore during the year. If they break their hand in week 1, they're out to week 10, sorry. But if they're out for the season, if they're traded or they're dropped, you can name a new captain.
And then really, if you think about it, what are you doing naming a captain who could be dropped?
I understand what you're saying there. Hadn't thought about it that way.
There's already an issue there if you're already doing that. I mean, unless you're picking Josh Gordon or something, or.
I thought you said Josh Cloyd there for a minute.
No.
Okay, so that takes care of all of the rule changes. Do you have any thoughts on that, David? Anything you want to add?
On the rule changes, no. I mean, I think, I'm sure next year some of those will probably be there again, like the Money League one, like you've already discussed.
Right.
I'm sure with some of the changes, I mean, this is only going to be my second year in, so I don't know too much yet of exactly how the leagues have been running. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure, we'll see how that decimal system works, how people like that, and the reception thing. I have a feeling there might be a couple people who may get a little upset if they lose when they wouldn't have lost last time. So It's one of those things where that, of course, the whole, I don't remember you mentioning this at all during our proposal, during the time frame, but it was shot down really early. But I think with the way the TSPN thing is going, that might be the best way we're going. But the whole ownership feel to the league with the name in the stadiums and the selling the ticket prices, that probably is going to come back up again as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that idea. And I know some people, it's one of those things I like to always add stuff. And I think there would be some people. I think Chuck would love it. For instance, he's a businessman, and I think he would like it more than he realized. It's just hammering down the system and how it would work, based on performance and all that. You know me, I can throw something together, I can make it work, and you could even run it a dummy year and have people do that. It's basically gambling is all it is. I'm not saying we change the ticket prices all season long. It would be something to do in the off season. That's what I was looking for, was something else to do in the off season that could help some of these teams out. I mean, like Ben, for instance, he had a decent year. I don't remember if it's last year or the year before, but he was in issues with money. Well, if we had this system in place, he would have gotten a little bit more money, and he wouldn't have been in the pickle he's in now. Same thing for Jeff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's something that I'm not going to push for because I realize some people have issues with that, but I really think that it would be in another interesting aspect. But people all the time telling me I'm adding too much stuff, yet they talk about it all the time. But,
yeah, I mean, look what we're doing right now.
Exactly. And I believe you were one that was against that, if I remember. You kind of shut down the idea, and here you go talking about it. You're the one that brings it up.
Well, I'm looking at the proposals right now, and it popped up. It was the top one, so I was like, I'm sure that'll be popped back up again.
Well, that does it for the rule changes. So we'll move on to our committees, and I know some of you guys have had a good time with this and making fun of it, but the fact of the matter is there are times I do not like being the decision maker. I know that's what a commissioner is supposed to do and everything, but the fact that I play in the league and there are times where something could benefit me that I'm one of those people. I would rather make the right decision, and if it screws me, it screws me, just to kind of keep the league happy and keep them. But some people that don't know me as well, I kind of got accused of something last year, really pissed me off. And
yeah, you did.
I'm not going to say
loved every minute of it.
Yeah, because I was pretty hot, and you were in on that conversation. I'm not saying any names, but I'm because I don't do that, I think that's why it made me so mad. So that's when it wasn't Will. That's why I've decided to do this. But most of the stuff had already been decided.
Luke.
I'm not going to tell you who it is, so just stop.
Okay.
The league commissioner, of course, is me until I'm impeached. Dare somebody to take this job. And then we already had the trade committee. So the trade committee is going to be 8 owners, and anytime a trade goes down, the AFC and the NFC both will be texted, and they will vote. If that's a tie, then I will make the decision on whether or not the trade passes. But the reason for this is we want trades to go through faster than what they are, rather than the stupid 2 and 3 day trade window. So that was what we decided sometime last year, that we were going to set this up. Trade committee, David, is you. Matt Hensley, Jared Riddle, Will Lim, that's AFC. And NFC is Sean Golden, J.P. Conger, Mark Eberly, and Kent Davis. And then I think that's the only ones that were absolutely set in stone. For the rules and scoring committee, this is going to be, where people want to come up with rules and stuff like that. I really push for Kent Davis because, he plays in a ton of fantasy football leagues. And he did win. He is on the rules committee as well as Chuck Vest, because, like I said, Chuck's one of those guys. When you pitch something to him, when you talk to him about it, he doesn't throw it away. You know what I mean? He kind of speaks his mind, I guess. And Daniel's the same way, and Daniel won that also, as well as Jeff Howard, who I call him Debbie Downer on occasion as a joke, just picking on him. Because I feel like him being from Seattle, he's always against everything because he thinks everybody's against Seattle. And I love you, Jeff. I'm just kidding. But that's your 4 rules and scoring committee members. The brainstorming committee is just the ones that we'll talk to and try to come up with ideas. If you have any ideas, you can talk to them. And just kind of get new ideas of anything, whether it be scores, whether it be any kind of crazy idea. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but whatever, the stupid stadium thing, anything. So in the AFC, David, you won that one, and Daniel Kincaid. The NFC was Joby Conger, Wes Runkle. Let's see, and then the statistician, that's going to be the guy that is going to try to help me with the captain's points, and trying to give me a list of the captain's points as soon as possible if he can. David, that was also you, and hopefully you'll have time for that like you said you did last year.
I got time for everything.
Good. So
I'm right now doing this whole thing with the 2 kids sleeping next to me after they've came in. Nobody knew that either.
Yeah, there you go. So okay, so you're the statistician, and then the player agent's the one that's just going to kind of help me check and make sure that there are no violations of taxi squad, and no which the league kind of does a lot of that stuff, but it doesn't show where we have our rules set for who's taxi eligible. It doesn't show that, so he's going to help me check that out, and also kind of help me make sure that teams are active in setting their lineups and not starting players on bye weeks. And that is Will in the AFC and Mark in the NFC, which I haven't heard from Mark a lot lately, so that kind of makes me nervous. But hopefully he'll kind of get more involved. We may have to revisit that one. I don't know. And then the Owners Association president, this was kind of done as a joke in a way. But basically what he's going to do is any kind of confrontation, any kind of argument, he'll get involved, and he and I will discuss it. And the 2 candidates were Will and David, and it was a very close vote, but by 2 votes, Will Lim is your TFL Owners Association president. And David, I'd love to see your face right now. I know you're really looking forward to that. You already talked to my wife about having an office set up down here and everything, but Will did win that.
Placard.
Hey man, you can be vice president, and he can
No.
let you sit in on stuff. You can be Cheney and he can be Bush.
No.
You pull the strings.
No, because I get shot in the face in that way, and I don't like that.
No, it's true. But so that
Well, congrats, Will.
That wraps up everything that we had set up for tonight. I did, because since we kind of touched on it, and I know this is a long show, I'm gonna kind of spring this on you, David. But since you are a part of it, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit. I've kind of done a lot of the talking tonight, and I wanted to get you in on the TCAA a little bit, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Just talk about it a little bit. Because everybody keeps asking me how this is going to work, how this is, what's going to happen, what is it, how are we going to handle this, how are we going to handle that? And David, what's your answer to that?
In which and handle in which way?
Any of it. You don't know, right?
I ain't got a damn clue.
Yeah, and in a way, neither do I. This is going to operate kind of like the TFL did when we first started. We were literally flying by the seat of our pants, having to change some stuff here and there. Most of it we tried to wait until the end of the season. A lot of it we had to do on the fly. But I know some of you guys have not, especially some of you newer guys, kind of jumped into it. You didn't really know, you haven't read the charter really to kind of see what's going on. I know some of you have. But real quick, I'm going to go over some of the owners just in case some of you may know them. I don't know. But in the ACC, we have my son, Austin Barnett, Dragon Slayers. Warren is Daniel's son. Warren Kincaid is the Funk. Garrett Bray, you guys remember him as the Nashville Smashers. He has moved down to the college leagues, Mysterious Spartans. Their friend from soccer, Zach Dean, is the Screaming Gophers. Ted Shaver is a guy I played softball with. His name is Ted Zilla. One of his good friends, John Wood, I think his last name is Terry Tate's Pain Train. That wraps up the ACC. In the Big Six, we have the Dynasty, which is Ryan Smith, I think is his last name. And then we have the EFL, which that name's a little confusing to me, but his name is Holden Doss. And then I really like this name. I'm kind of a big deal. I kind of wish that the TCAA had kind of stuck with the TFL's team and making actual team names. But Will kind of blew that up with every damn wrestling. But anyway, that's Matt Ford, who is a coach, I think, at Jonesboro Middle School. He went to Crockett, I'm pretty sure. Then we got the Medicine Man, who is a fourth-year pharmacy student. His name is Bryce Jocelyn. And Ryan is also a fourth-year pharmacy student, by the way. And then we got No Sankey, I'm Good, which is John Blair. He is a friend of somebody.
Oh, well, that's
Can't
good.
remember who it is that John's a friend with. But then we got Fat Vol, which is Corey Jones. That's one of Bryce's friends. He's also a fourth-year pharmacy student. And then the Big East, the Power Conference, as everybody knows,
That's right.
has Brian Quillen, the Asheville Aardvarks, who was one of my pharmacy students and now a pharmacist. Myself is the Big Orange Militias, Bryan Barnett. And then you changed your name, David. I noticed the other day you did change it. It's University of Thugonomics, right?
That's right.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was final, but that's David. Jonathan Sawyer and Chris Sawyer, they're brothers that are patients of mine as Garnet and Black and Silver Arrows. Big Gamecocks fans. And then, of course, Ben Scott's is Throwdowns. And another thing I want to mention too, David, Ben's kind of wanting to do a show called Ben Scott's Throwdowns, where he wants to get owners on, and he just wants to get them to fight and argue and, try to get another way to try to get conversations, going. So we need to work on that.
Sounds good.
And then in the Pac-6, there was a couple guys that kind of suggested it being named that. As Bailey's Dogs, it's Dylan Bailey. I think he's from Jonesboro. And then Cooged It is Will, who's Every Damn Wrestling from TFL. Greenville Green Dogs is Ryan Catterson, which is your brother-in-law, right?
Brother-in-law, yeah.
Your brother-in-law, okay. The Land Thieves is Ryan Downs, I think is his last name. Place at the Table, which is the weirdest name in the league, I think. His name is John, and his last name is escaping me right now. It's John. John, that's going to drive me nuts. I can't remember his last name. But and then you got Southern Superman, who is Marty Murr. I'm pretty sure he's from Jonesboro also. In the SEC, you've got Brian Made Me Do It, another funny name. I did not make him play in this league. I tried to make him choose a team name, and that's what he came up with, which I like it, creative. DJ Lowry, a guy I played softball with. He also used to go to my church. 3-6 Mafia's Jason Dockery, guy I went to high school with. The University of Ron Swanson Carnivores is Jared Riddle, who is also Sriracha Angry Chickens. His roommate, I think, Jeff Cruz, is the Vestal Virgins. Jason Royston is the Volunteers. I graduated with him. And the Woodbury Walkers is Mitch Gortney, who I went to high school with. I didn't graduate with him. But anyway, that introduces you to some of them. Some of you local guys may know some of those guys. But their league is also going to have the coaching hot seat, which I would like to. I'm going to get into that when you interview me, David.
Okay.
As Commissioner Goodell, I really want to talk about that in the episode we do that. But I'll just leave that alone for right now. But they are going to have the hot seat. I've got records set up just like the TFL. I've got the trophy case set up. All that stuff is in the league articles. And then also we've got the the polls. And I did put the computer poll on there, but that's not going to factor into the BCS poll because I think that's screwed up. Because you have a team like Chuck a couple years ago, or last year I think it was actually, he had like number 1 or number 2 power rating, but his record was bad because he kept starting the wrong people. You know, and I think that would kind of screw up. But I think I just put it in there for fun just to show how screwed up it is. But we're going to have the media poll, which is going to be Daniel, Kincaid, and Wes Runkle because they're not in the league. They're going to be voting on the top 10. And then the coaches poll, which is going to be Ted Shaver from the ACC, Big Six, John Blair and Matt Ford. The Big East is myself and you, and the Pac 6 is Will. We are the coaches, the voters of the coaches poll. So kind of gives you a rundown on how everything's going to work. I kind of just wanted to throw a little bit of TCAA stuff in there. Just to give an idea of how that works. Do you think I should talk about recruiting, David, at all, or?
I don't think we should give too much of that away right now.
Later.
We'll definitely do an episode that's like dedicated nothing but TCAA.
Yeah,
I think after the first week or two of the season hits, that's going to be where a lot of probably discussion is going to come from. Mm-hmm. Just because with the red shirting and then the injuries, because I'm sure there's someone who will get injured, and there's going to be people who are like, "Why can't I pick up somebody?" And it's like, "Well, we told you." And
right. So, well, I guess that closes the third episode then of our podcast, and the majority of our podcasts are not going to be this long. Just so you know, we're going to do a lot of shorter podcasts. Just like our weekly review, weekly previews are not going to be near this long.
Probably 30, 40 minutes maybe.
Right,
who knows?
we're just kind of wanting to throw some stuff together, just to kind of show you guys what it's going to be like. And also, again, look at the timestamps, guys, because, even if it's something you don't even want to hear about, skip to what you do want to hear about. We'd rather you listen to us the whole time, but, completely understand. I know everybody's got weird schedules and everything, but, listen to us while you're in bed, man. We'd love to serenade you to sleep. Just something to keep you guys active, keep you guys interested in the league.
Exactly.
But, I guess we're going to have to work on the outro. You're going to have to edit this part out because I don't really know how to shut this down.
You don't like this, the way this is going?
No,
I'm pretty sure the people at home right now or whoever's watching on YouTube live, by the way, anytime, guys, if you know we're doing one of these, you can watch us live instead of waiting until we edit it. Just saying.
I'm going to shoot you for saying that, too.
No, I'm not. I want to hear live. I want everyone to know.
Yeah.
This is live.
Yeah.
Live.
That way you can hear all the different takes of special guest Bryan Caliendo.
Exactly. We're going to be bringing stuff to people. It's going to be awesome. But I would definitely say next time, for our next episode, I'm looking at our little spreadsheets here, and we're definitely going to probably have an interview with the 2013 champion of last year, Northeast Flying Bombers. We're definitely going to try and get a lot of TCAA in here. We still have the interview with yourself. But we may even see if we can try and get now an interview with one of our newly elected. Maybe see if we can get the president in here, get Will in, and see what kind of things he may have upcoming, being the president of the TFL. So let's see we got a lot of stuff going on. Season starts. For the love of God, it's next week.
It's next week. So man. I got to get the schedule. You may have to get somebody else for some of these shows. I've got to do that schedule.
We're talking TCAA. We're talking, it's actually not college football, guys. That's the pros. College football actually starts, technically tomorrow.
That's something I can't get people to understand, and I don't think they can really appreciate it. And it's like Will. Will hated the idea until, we had him originally in the media poll, and he got to looking at it, and he was really interested in it. And he was actually one of the 2 teams that I picked up for the Pac 6, when I was trying to find that last team. Because once he got to looking at it, he realized, holy crap, this, once they had some rosters to look at, I think it helped people understand how this was going to work.
Yeah,
sort of. All right, well, thanks for listening, guys, and hopefully you catch us next time and get some more listeners, get some more input, and we'll be back and better than ever. Hopefully sometime next week. So thanks again.
Shoot.